Honey, pull up a chair. Let's talk. My friend Sarah called me last Tuesday, and I could hear that specific kind of panic in her voice. It wasn't the loud, world-is-ending panic, not the kind where the car's broken down on the side of the highway. No, this was worse. This was the quiet thrin, the morning slow drip anxiety that just eats you alive from the inside out. I don't get it, she said, her voice tight like she was trying not to cry. I did everything right. I have $70,000 in my savings account. I should feel safe. I should feel proud. So why do I feel like I'm drowning? I knew that feeling. I've lived that feeling. I sighed, grabbed my keys and said, "Put the kettle on. I'm coming over." You've got to understand Sarah. She's one of the strongest women I know. She's 45, a dental hygienist, and she's got that laugh that makes you feel like everything's going to be okay. But 5 years ago, she went through a divorce that would have leveled most people. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was the financial betrayal. Her ex-husband, the one with the fancy suits and the confident smile, he'd handled all the money, all the investments. And when Sarah's lawyer finally got the statements, it turned out he wasn't an investor. He was a gambler. He'd lost almost half their retirement, money they'd saved for 20 years, on can't-miss hot stocks, on crypto coins with dog names, on every shiny new thing a guru on the internet told him would 100x. By the time the dust settled, Sarah was left with her job, her 15-year-old Toyota, a mountain of legal bills, and a deep, paralyzing fear of the stock market. To her, investing was a dirty word. It was just a slick way for men in suits to gamble away your future. So, for 5 solid years she'd worked. Lord, how that woman worked. She took every extra shift she could. She became the queen of couponing, of Facebook Marketplace, of saying no to vacations and dinners out. She clawed her way back, penny by painful penny. That $70,000 sitting in her local Bank of America savings account. That wasn't just money to her. It was her wall. It was her fortress. It was 5 years of sweat and sacrifice. It was her proof, to him and to herself, that she was a survivor. She'd look at that number, that beautiful, stable, safe number, and it was the only thing that let her sleep at night. And now, that same number was the reason she felt like she was drowning. When I got to her house, she had the tea on, but she was pacing. She had her laptop open on the kitchen counter. "Look," she said, pointing at the screen. $70,342.18. It's all there. Check it every day. But I went to the grocery store this morning. And just the basics. Just eggs and milk and chicken. It was $150. Last year, that same cart was $100. My car insurance just went up 20%. My property taxes. Hey, I'm putting all this money away. And I feel like I'm running on a treadmill, and someone just keeps turning up the speed. She was right. She was drowning. And I knew why. I sat her down at that kitchen table. "Sarah," I said as gently as I could, "I am so proud of you. Do you hear me? What you've built here after what he did. It's a miracle. You're a warrior." She nodded, her eyes getting glassy. "But honey," I said, "you've been through a war. And you're so focused on fighting the last war, you don't see the new enemy that's already inside your walls." She looked confused. "What are you talking about?" "My money is safe. It's FDIC insured. It's there." "I know," I said. "Now I'm going to ask you a question. What's the interest rate on that savings account?" She shrugged. "I don't know. 0.01%. Maybe 0.1%. I don't care. It's not about the interest. It's about it not disappearing." "I get that," I said. "I really, truly do. But here's the hard truth. It is disappearing. It's just disappearing so quietly you can't hear it. Pulled out my phone. What you just described at the grocery store. That's inflation. And it's the silent killer of every woman who's ever been afraid to invest. You're so terrified of a market crash. You're letting yourself get eaten alive by a slow bleed. I opened my calculator app. Let's say inflation this year is just 3.5%. That's being generous. You take your $70,000. Multiply it by 3.5%. Do you know what that number is? She shook her head. $2,450. She blinked. What? This year alone, I said. Your $70,000 will lose $2,450 in buying power. It'll still say $70,000 on the screen. But when you go to buy groceries or pay your taxes or fix your car, it'll only have the power of $67,550. That's 2, maybe 3 of your mortgage payments. Poof. Vanished into thin air. You didn't spend it. You didn't lose it in a crash. You just lost it. Because it was sitting still. I leaned in. Sarah, you've built a fortress to protect yourself. But you've built it out of ice in the middle of summer. It's melting, and you're the only one who doesn't see it. She looked like she was going to be sick. You are the hardest working woman I know, I told her. But your money is the laziest, most good-for-nothing employee you have ever hired. While you are breaking your back, standing on your feet all day, dealing with sore gums and screaming kids. Your $70,000 is just sitting on the couch, eating your food, doing nothing. This is what I call the emergency fund trap. And I see so many women fall into it, especially women who've been through a financial trauma. We get so obsessed with saving, with building that cash cushion, that the cushion becomes the only thing. We oversave. We put our whole lives in park, and forget that the car is still losing value. But the market, she finally whispered. It was the argument she'd been holding back. What if it crashes? What if I put it in and it all disappears? Just like he did. That's when I knew I had to tell her my story. The one I don't tell a lot of people. Honey, I said, taking her hand. After my own mess, after I was left with nothing but 2 kids and a pile of debt. You know what I did? Kept $50,000. Not in a bank. In a shoebox. In the back of my closet, under a pile of old sweaters. Her eyes went wide. I'm not kidding. A literal shoebox. I was so terrified of banks, of the system. Of everything. Count it. Every single night after the kids were in bed, I'd lock my bedroom door, pull out that box, and I'd count all $50,000. It was the only thing that felt real. Took me 2 years, Sarah. 2 years of counting that same money, while the price of my kids' shoes went up, and the gas for my car went up, and the rent on our tiny apartment went up. One day I was at the grocery store and a box of cereal. Just cereal. Was almost $5. And I had a full-blown panic attack right there in the aisle. Because I suddenly realized, that money in my shoebox, it wasn't safe. It was stuck. I wasn't protecting it. I was punishing it. And I was punishing myself. I was working so hard to stay in the same place, and that place was broke. I looked her right in the eye. You are not your ex-husband, Sarah. And you're not me with a shoebox full of fear. You're smarter than both of us. But you're acting like you're not. You're letting his ghost and his mistakes control your future. That one hit home. She sat back and the fight went out of her. She just looked tired. Okay, she said. Okay. What do I do? I'm scared. I don't know how to do any of this. So overwhelming. I'm not a stock picker. Good, said with a smile. I don't want you to be a stock picker. That was his problem. He was looking for a winning lottery ticket. You're not a gambler, Sarah. You're a builder. And we're going to build this right. This is the part that seems scary, but it's the easiest part. I call it giving your money a job. All right, I said, grabbing her laptop. First things first. We're going to break up this $70,000. Right now, it's just one big lazy pile of fear money. And because it's all lumped together, you're tricking your own brain. You look at it and think, I'm rich. And you're more likely to buy that $300 purse you don't need. But it's also your emergency fund. So you're too scared to use it for anything. It's a mess. We're going to get forensic, I said. Pull out your bank statements. What are your real bare bones? Life is ending monthly expenses. Mortgage, utilities, food, gas, insurance. No Netflix, no dinners out, no shopping. The real stuff. Took us about 30 minutes. We scribbled on a legal pad. Her number came to $4,200 a month. Great, I said. Now we multiply that by 6. That's your 6-month, sleep at night fund. That comes to $25,200. Let's call it $25,000. So, I said, drawing a line on the paper. You don't have a $70,000 emergency fund. You have a $25,000 emergency fund. And $45,000 of, what the hell am I doing? Money. She laughed. It was the first time all morning. Step 1, the real emergency fund. We're going to take that $25,000, I said, and we're moving it. Not out of the bank, but into a better bank. An online high-yield savings account. A what? Honey. Just a savings account like the one you have. Still boring. Still safe. Still FDIC insured. But instead of paying you 0.01%, these banks are paying 4.5%, maybe even 5%. I did the math for her again. Your $25,000 at 4.5% earns $1,125 a year. For doing nothing, your old bank earns $2.50. You're losing over $1,000 a year just for being loyal to a bank that doesn't care about you. We opened one right then and there. We named it Sarah's Fortress. And we set up the transfer for $25,000. It was out of sight, out of mind, but it was finally pulling its own weight. Step 2, the short-term goal fund. Okay, I said. What about that $45,000? What do you need in the next few years? Your Toyota isn't getting any younger. She admitted she wanted to replace it in the next 2 years. She was budgeting $15,000. Perfect, I said. We're not investing that. The stock market is too jumpy for a 2-year goal. But we're not leaving it with the rest either. We opened another HWSA. We called it Sarah's New Car. And we set up a transfer for $15,000. Now, that money was also earning 4.5% interest. It had a job, and its job was to help her buy a car. Step 3. The fear money becomes freedom money. She was left with $30,000. This, I said, is your fear money. And we're going to turn it into your freedom money. This is the money you won't need for at least 5, 10, 20 years. This is your future. And this is the money that's going to go to work, so one day you don't have to. You tensed up. The stock market. The boring part of the stock market, I corrected her. You're not your ex-husband. You're not buying hot tips. You're not gambling. Pulled up a new website. A boring, well-known brokerage. Vanguard or Fidelity. We're going to open 2 accounts for you. A simple brokerage account and a Roth IRA. I explained the Roth IRA in the simplest terms I knew. It's a get-out-of-jail-free card from the government. You put money in after you've paid taxes on it. And then it grows. And when you're 65 and you want to take it out, all that growth, all those decades of your money-making babies, it's all 100% tax-free. It's the best deal in town for women like us. But what do I buy? She asked, her voice small. That's the beautiful part, I said. You're not going to buy one needle. You're going to buy the whole haystack. It's called an index fund. Instead of trying to guess if Apple or Google is going to win, you buy a tiny, tiny piece of all of them. You're just betting on the whole American economy. You buy an S&P 500 index fund. That's a tiny sliver of the 500 biggest companies in the country. Some will go up, some will go down, but over time the whole thing, the haystack, has always gone up. I showed her the charts. I showed her the long, steady, boring climb. Her hand was shaking when she held the mouse to transfer that first $10,000 into her new brokerage account. She clicked confirm and let out a breath she'd been holding for 5 years. It wasn't greed. It wasn't excitement. It was just relief. She hadn't gambled. She hadn't been reckless. She had just planted a seed. We spent the rest of the afternoon setting up an automatic transfer. A dollar-cost averaging plan. Just $500 a month, split between her Roth IRA and her brokerage account. Set it and forget it. Listen to me. See you. I see you out there, hoarding that cash you work so hard for. You've been burned or you've seen someone else get burned, and you think that big fat number in your savings account is a shield. I'm here to tell you, as your friend who has been there, it's not a shield, it's an anchor, and it's holding you back while the tide of inflation rises around you. Your money needs a job. You wouldn't let a lazy, good-for-nothing relative live on your couch rent-free for years, so why are you letting your dollars? It's time to put them to work. Here is your survivor's wisdom. Here's your plan. Do the hard math. Sit down tonight and calculate your real bare-bones 3 to 6 month emergency fund. Be ruthless. This is not your new kitchen fund. This is your I lost my job and the roof is leaking fund. Separate and name it. Open a high-yield savings account. Right now on your phone. Find one paying over 4%. Transfer that exact emergency fund amount into it. And name the account, My Fortress, or My Peace of Mind. Now, it's out of your main checking, you can't see it, and you won't be tempted to spend it. But it's earning real interest. Give your other cash a job. Saving for a car in 2 years. A house down payment in 3. That also goes into a separate HYSA, or a Certificate of Deposit, CD. Give it a name. My new car. My down payment. Money with a purpose doesn't get wasted. Pay your future self first. Everything that's left over. That's your fear money. It's time to turn it into freedom money. Open a Roth IRA and a brokerage account. Buy the haystack. You don't need to be a Wall Street genius. You just need 1 or 2 simple low-cost index funds. A total stock market fund or an S&P 500 fund. That's it. Set up an automatic transfer for every single paycheck. $50, $100, whatever you can. And never stop. The goal isn't to get rich quick. We've all seen those scams and we know how they end. The goal is to get rich slow. The goal is to build a life where, one day, your money is working harder than you are. That's not just security, honey. That's freedom. And you've earned it.